In this section, we're going to talk about the tools that are necessary for people entering the industrial electrical arena and the instrument mechanic field. So your page that you're going to need is this tool list, page 1 of 2, and we're going to go down through each one of these illustrations and illustrate the tool and basically what it's used for. And the very first one, this is called slip joint pliers. They are able to have quite a range of capture between almost 2 inches, some are much bigger than that, and it goes down to very simple type of measurements and so forth that you would use, say, with a straight nose plier, but these have much longer handles on them. They're just very handy for grabbing a lot of different types of everything from nuts, bolts, or other types of materials that need to be adjusted or removed. This is known as an adjustable end or crescent style type wrench, and it allows the person to adjust this. There's a wide variety of these sizes from very small to very large, and it makes a more precise measurement or adjustment to fit on different types of bolt heads or even the nuts that go onto the bolts themselves, and allows the person to remove them depending upon whatever size. It fits both metric and SE units. It's always going to be necessary to tap something loose or tap it into place, and for instrument mechanic arena as well as basic electrical, this is a ball peen hammer. It's very small. It's only about a 3 ounce head on here. It has a small handle. Some are much bigger and others are just about, this is probably about as small as you'd come across for any type of industrial application, called ball peen hammer. The next thing that you have on the list is you're going to see this right here, and it's called a steel center punch. It in fact is made from steel, and it's used to mark places on metal, and you use the ball peen hammer to actually tap these into place and then tap it so that you can drill a hole in that particular piece of metal. Not used in wood, it's just strictly for different types of metal, such as aluminum and steel. Of all the different kinds of screwdrivers that you're going to require, some are going to be Phillips, there will be a standard flat blade. This particular one is 3/16. As you get more into higher levels of energy, you're going to find that the screws and nuts and bolts are much bigger, and you'll need a 1/4 to maybe 3/8 of an inch on different types of screwdrivers that you may be working with. As opposed to light-duty needle nose pliers, these needle nose pliers have very heavy jaws on them and are used to place wire, twist wire into loops so that they can be put onto screw-type terminals like electrical sockets and plugs and so forth. These right here allow you to manipulate much heavier wire than just the standard electronic size of, say, 18 to 26. This is made more for handling 12 and 14 gauge wire. All electrical people always have some type of a way of stripping wire, much thicker wire, and they often will use what's known as just an electrician's knife, and that's its actual name. It has this distinction of having just a single blade, and it also has a blade that's used as a screwdriver and sometimes used for stripping wire, but most of the time it's just used as a screwdriver, and it already is at the 1/4 inch size, which is a standard head for a lot of different types of screws. The wire itself and different techniques, as you work with this, you'll find out how to actually use this to strip heavy-duty cables. Again, equipment used for heavy-duty electrical applications. These are not light-duty types of needle nose or diagonal-sized pliers. They're actually made to cut more like 10 and 8 gauge wires, really much bigger, and has many really heavy jaws, as you can see right here, very heavy, and they're used for cutting bigger wire. In all cases where a person is working with different types of measurements. The tape is actually going to be one of the most important things that you work with for performing measurements. Everything from sizing out wire, how long you need to make this, what the distance is between 2 points, and also for bending conduit. You'll need to have something that you can work with. If you don't use a flat rule, this will be the best type of rule to have, because it also clips on your belt, and is very handy for those types of things. These are known as Lyman crimpers. The Lyman crimpers, although they have a little bit of a way of cutting the wire, it's not a good idea to use that for wires. It's much better to use diagonal pliers for that, or wire cutters. What this does is it allows you to crimp different types of wireless connectors. There's a variety of different sizes of these, and the insulated ones that have a little plastic on them are one side of this, and the other is made for uninsulated terminals, and that's this back part that's used on these. When you get into crimping things that have to do with ground wires and use crimps and so forth, this is really what you need to have to ensure you have a very strong crimp on the wire connections. Lastly, if you're going to be working in any type of the industrial arena, these are types of tool pouches you can expect to find. This is a very common one. Has a place to put all of the different types of screwdrivers, different types of sockets that you're going to be working with, heavy duty pliers, and we'll talk about those in a little bit, screwdrivers, and just a host of other specialized tools that you're going to need when you're working in the instrument mechanic or the industrial electrical arena.